Well, hello there, and welcome once again to Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. I'm John Scholes. Joining you momentarily on the screen beside me will be my partner and co-host, of course, Lior Samfiru from EmploymentLawyer.ca. Encouraged always to reach out to Lior with any of your issues in the workplace. Phone numbers really simple. You probably know it by now, 1-855-821-5900, and help at EmploymentLawyer.ca or ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca as well. Lots to cover on the show today. We got 30 minutes. We always have a lot to cover. In the second segment, one of my favorites, it crops up every so often, the employment law, true or false. You're safe. I ask the questions, I don't answer them. So you're going to get the correct answer for sure when Lior does those. I'll put him through the grinder for that. We have some viewer questions always as well, some emails, and we'll flip over and cover a little bit of the disability side of thing, which is the other half of what Lior's firm does. So that is all just ahead. Before we get right into the meat of things, Lior, let's get it happening with a case of the day. What do you got to share on the show today, pal? What's going on?
Thanks for that intro, Johnny, and great to be here, great to be talking employment law and to try to demystify this topic for all our good viewers. People have questions, there's misconceptions out there, there's workplace problems. We deal with all these things on the show. For the next 30 minutes, you're going to learn about your workplace rights. You're going to learn about what is wrong and what is right when it comes to your job, to your employment law, and about what your employer is able to do, not able to do, whether they can put you on a temporary layoff, whether they can recall you back to the office, whether you can be let go without severance. We're going to cover all these topics and much more like we do every week. So this is the time and the opportunity that you have to get some answers, to get some clarity, and to ask yourself, hey, what can the law do for me? The law can do a lot for you, and we'll tell you all that on the show. Of course, this is a 30-minute show. Time's going to run out, and we may not get to every topic, which is why we give you the option B, which is to reach me in the office, to phone, to email, to reach out and have a private discussion. But on the show, you'll learn a lot about employment law. Case of the day where I like to start off. John, I've been getting a lot of calls from people working for major banks, some of the major banks in the province, and these are individuals that have been working remotely either since the pandemic or even from before the pandemic. Well, very recently, a lot of these individuals have been told by their bank, by their employer, that you have to come back into the office, whether 2, 3, or even 4 times a week. Now, for many of these people, that's a complete shock. They've been working remotely for years. They're used to that. They like it. They've structured their life around being able to work remotely. And for them to have to go into the office now several times a week is a major, major disruption. Not to mention, some people have moved away from the physical location of their employer. So the question that I've been getting consistently recently is, can they make me go back into the office, or can I stay remote? So here's the answer. For the most part, your employer cannot force you to come back to work in office if you've been working remotely for a while. That now, the fact that you work remotely is a term of employment, and your employer does not have a right to make significant changes to those terms of employment. Now, these individuals are being told that if they refuse to come in, that will be considered a resignation. Not true, not a resignation. If you don't come in and your employer decides to let you go because you don't want to stop working remotely, that's not a resignation, that's a termination, which means you're owed severance. So you cannot stop your employer from letting you go if you don't come in to the office. But if they do let you go, not a resignation, it's a termination with full severance, which of course could be as much as 24 months pay. So keep that in mind. You do have a right to continue working remotely. If your employer is insisting and you come into the office, before you say yes or no, before you do anything, let's have that chat. Let's understand what's at stake and how much severance you could get if you are let go as a result.
As Lior says, anytime there's a discrepancy, always reach out to him for sure at the firm. And, we take those phone calls, we listen to them, we respond to them all the time. And our viewers are always reaching out as well, Lior. Want to get to a call from one of our viewers who's wondering a couple things, so we'll get to that right now. Listen up.
My employer was trying to change my compensation. I wrote back saying I don't accept this. They've officially said that, well, I guess you're resigning. I said no. They stopped paying me, and they seem to be stalling. And I'm wondering what kind of recourse I have, because they're totally capable of doing that kind of thing.
And how long have you been not working?
About a month.
How long have you worked there?
4 years.
What do you think?
So this employer has terminated her employment. It's as simple as that. Your employer can't stop paying you for a month and then say, no, we didn't terminate your employment. It doesn't work that way. The most basic thing that can happen when you have a job is they give you work and they pay you for doing that work. And of course, her employer didn't have a right to just reduce her pay. That could be a constructive dismissal in itself. So she was let go. She is owed severance, and she doesn't have to wait for them. She can force the issue. I can help her with that. I do that all the time. Of course, the last thing we need to figure out is, now that we know that she's owed severance, well, how much severance is she owed? We're going to use our severance calculator tool for that. We're going to go to EmploymentLawyer.ca right now, click on that severance calculator, and run through that calculation. Let's see what that gives us. We know she's in a technical role, been there for 4 years, and she's 57 years of age. Her employer has not paid her any severance, but you see right there at the bottom, she is owed 8 months of severance. That's how much she is owed, 8 months, not weeks. That's not a typo. Same with you at home. If you're let go, if your employer won't pay you, if they change significant terms of employment, you're owed severance. And to find out how much severance, the easiest way to do that, check out the severance calculator at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Okay, Leo, we are revved up nicely. Got to get into a very short break. We'll do that right now. Return with the main topic of the show. As I mentioned off the top, employment law, true or false? I got a trifecta of questions coming right at you, pal. So that's just ahead. Stay with us as we continue Ask a Lawyer on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit CP24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Welcome back. Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Thank you for sticking around through the break. We got the main topic part of the show now, but first, how to reach out to Lior and his team. If you need to talk to them, you're always encouraged to do so. Don't hold back. Phone number and email, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Use that QR code on the right side as well, and they'll take care of you, no doubt. Also, pocket EmploymentLawyer.ca if you want to use that severance calculator, which will probably make an appearance later on the show, Lior, but it is the true or false time of the show. I love this. Sometimes in the past, you used to flip the tables. We're not doing that this week. Now we're going to give the viewer a break and give them the right answers. So the first one is this: true or false, Lior? It's better to quit than be fired for any reason, so your employment contract, or at least your employment record, remains nice and squeaky clean. What do you think about that?
You know, this is a very common misconception, which means that statement, of course, is false. It's a misconception. It is not better to quit than to be let go. If you're gonna lose your job, it's better to be let go. Why is it better to be let go? It's better to be let go because if you're let go, you're owed severance. That could be as much as 2 years' pay. If you're let go, you're owed EI, employment insurance. That could pay you for up to a year. Well, if you resign voluntarily, you don't get those things. You walk away from rights that you otherwise would have. Now, some people think it's going to hurt me in the future. No, there's no database that someone keeps that shows why someone is not working anymore. In fact, most people, the reason they're unemployed, it's because they were let go for whatever reason. So it can't be held against you when 80% of the people are in the same boat. So no, it's not better to resign. If your employer wants you gone, okay, let them let you go so you can get severance. Now, the only exception to that is if you know you've done something bad, you stole from the company and the company is calling you out on that, yeah, you may as well resign, because if they let you go, you're not going to get severance anyway. But unless you've done something terrible like that, it's not better to be to resign. It's better to be let go so that you get your entitlements.
Okay, employment law, true or false question number 2, Lior. A company can fire someone if they're going to be on medical leave for more than a few weeks. They can let you go. True or false?
You know, we're talking about these things because there's people and companies that believe that. Well, that statement, of course, is false, completely false. You cannot be let go because you're sick. You cannot be let go because you're going to be off work for a while to get better. You cannot be let go because you have a disability. And guess what? There is no time limit on that statement. You can be off as long as you need to get better. Maybe it's a few days, maybe it's a few weeks, maybe it's months or more. And that's okay. the fact that you're sick, the fact you're on a disability leave does not give the right to consider that in deciding to let you go. That would be a human rights violation. Can't do that. Now, of course, what that means is that when you're ready to come back to work after your leave, the company has to make all efforts to bring you back in your old job. If that doesn't exist in another job, that's what they have to do. So if your employer is threatening you to let you go because you're sick, tell them they can't do that, or better yet, have me tell them they can't do that, because that's illegal completely.
And finally, true or false, question number 3, Lior, is this: independent contractors are often owed severance because, well, they're actually employees, right?
That statement could not be more true. It is absolutely true. It is extremely common for individuals to be misclassified as contractors when they're really employees. Very, very, very common, okay? Most people that think that they're contractors maybe have signed a paper that says that they are, they're not. They have a regular job, so they're employees. If you look like an employee and act like an employee, yeah, of course, you are an employee and you have the rights of an employee, including the right to get severance, other rights too, like overtime and vacation pay, etc. So if you have a regular job, you work for one company, but they're calling you a contractor, you're not a contractor. You've been misclassified. Be very careful with that. And very important, if that position comes to an end, if you're let go, the company you work for is probably going to say, hey, guess what? We don't have to pay you any severance because you're a contractor. Well, you heard it here. That's wrong. That's false. They have to pay you your full severance, of course, up to 24 months. So if you're let go as a misclassified contractor, you have to call me right away.
Thank you, Lior. That was fantastic, quick and concise as always, which means we have time for another listener phone call. Let's get to that. Listen up.
I had worked for a company for about 5 years, and then I left on my own, and then I came back again and worked for them for another 3 years. Then I left again and came back after another couple years, worked for, let's say, another 2 years to the present date. If I were to lose my job, or if they were to terminate me and offer me a severance, would they only owe me for the 2 years, or would all those other years be included or factored in?
Did you sign most recently an employment agreement?
Yes.
Well,
so what happens in most of these cases, if you have breaks in service, so you may have been with the company for 10 years, but there was a year you were away and you came back, etc. Generally speaking, all years of service combined are included to calculate your entitlement to severance. So 2 years and then you left and you came back for 3 years, well, that's a 5-year now length of service that you have for severance purposes. And of course, the more length of service you have, the more severance you're owed, which is why those things are important. And that's true even in a situation where those gaps are very extensive, very big. Now, of course, the key here, and I asked this person if they sign an employment agreement, because if you come back and you sign an employment agreement that says, we're going to forget about all those years, we're going to consider you a brand new employee right now, well, then unfortunately your seniority starts at 0. That's why employment agreement, we talk about this often on the show, such an important document. If you don't want your past service to be disregarded, watch out for that in an employment agreement, and of course have me review that before you sign anything. But the general rule is, even if there's gaps in service, even if you've left, you came back, or you were let go and then rehired, that all those years should be accounted for when it comes to calculating your severance.
Lior, we got to get another small break here, but when we come back, we're going to take a step over the hallway to the other side of the firm that you handle. That would be the disability law side, equally informative and necessary. So we'll get to that after a short break as we continue. This is Ask a Lawyer on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in this week to Ask a Lawyer on CP24. John Scholes here, Lior Samfiru as well. We're going to switch gears, talk about disability law here momentarily, but I always give you the contact information when we come back. The phone number remains the same, right? 1-855-821-5900. But for the purpose of the next few minutes, it is ask@disabilityrights.ca or simply disabilityrights.ca to go right to the website. Now, Lior, I know your expertise is the employment law side, but it's all under one roof because there's handshaking going on between disability law and employment law all the time. So maybe fill in a couple gaps before we move on to a viewer audio question. What do you think, pal?
So people often ask me, is it really that common for people to be denied disability inappropriately or cut off disability benefits? Is it really a thing? Well, John, it's such a thing that we need to have a whole team in the office dealing exclusively with that. A whole team of lawyers, full-time, all the time, dealing with situations where insurance companies cut off people from their disability benefits before they should, deny those benefits altogether. That happens all the time, unfortunately. And this is a terrible situation. If you're sick, if you cannot work, and all this time you've had disability coverage, you should get paid by that insurance company. You should get paid those disability benefits so that you can focus on getting better. So that's why we have a team that's so good at getting those issues resolved, making sure that the insurance company pays what it's supposed to pay and that you don't have to deal with that burden. And as you said, there's often this interconnection between employment and disability. So maybe you're off work on a disability leave. Your insurance company says, yeah, we're not buying it, so we're going to cut you off disability benefits. Your employer then hears that and says, the insurance company says you can work. Well, you better come into work tomorrow. We'll consider you to have resigned. All the time you know you can't work. Your doctor is saying you can't work, and you're being told different things by different people. Very difficult situation. But the good news is we're here to help. That's what we do. We have teams to deal with your employment law issues, with your disability issues. So if that sounds familiar, if it happens to you or your family, we've got your back. Give us a call.
And by the way, the disability folks, the consultations are free, so feel free to reach out without any hesitation there. Okay, we got a viewer question coming up here, Lior. Listen up. Let's get to it. It's a good one.
My wife has had chronic pain for years that kept working. Recently, her doctor put her off work for severe stomach issues and eating problems. Her STD claim was denied because the insurer says pain alone isn't enough without test results, and they believe she can keep doing her clerical job with accommodations. Can they deny her for that?
Wow.
So, John, this is reason 238 as to why insurance companies deny benefits, okay? It makes no sense. If she cannot work, that is the key. That's what triggers those disability benefits, her inability to work, which of course is supported by a doctor. Sometimes it may take a while to get a diagnosis, okay? Sometimes you only have pain. Chronic pain is a huge issue in this country, and that could be, in fact, the only symptom and the only diagnosis that you can get. The fact that we may not have a more specific diagnosis does not mean you're able to work. So your doctor telling you that you cannot work should be enough, and that insurance company should be paying you. Many people are misled by that. Oh, the insurance company says I don't have a diagnosis, so I don't get benefits. Nonsense. You should be getting these benefits if you cannot work, if you have your doctor support. Don't let the insurer use reason 238 to deny you those benefits. Let's talk, and once they hear from us, all of a sudden you see how quickly that changes.
You bet. Again, don't hesitate to call or ask at disabilityrights.ca. That's the email address. And here's the question. The second question for today, Lior, is this. What happens to my LTD if my company goes out of business? Wow. What do you think?
So let me kind of paint that picture for you. You're receiving disability benefits. You can't work. Everything's okay. You're getting better, working on that. In the meantime, the company goes out of business, the company shuts down, and you may think, oh my gosh, I have those benefits through my insurance plan at work. What does that mean? Well, here's the good news. It's not going to impact your disability benefits. Once you're on these benefits, once you're receiving disability benefits, those benefits will continue as long as you can work, potentially till the age of 65. It doesn't matter what happens with the company. Maybe even in the meantime, you've been let go because of a restructuring. None of that is going to impact your disability benefits. Now, you may be owed severance from the employer if they shut down and you no longer have a job. And that's something we need to talk about. That severance could be as much as 2 years' pay. But as relates to your disability benefits, once you're on those benefits, the only way you should be getting off those benefits is if your medical condition has improved and you can work. Otherwise, you need to stay on.
All right, Lior, one final break here. We're going to back over the employment side of it again. Before we get into the break, I want to reiterate, make that phone call, and consultations are free with the disability folks, so have no fear. As we continue, a few minutes to go here on Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Stay with us.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit CP24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
And welcome back to Ask a Lawyer. We will wrap up this week's show with one more viewer call, Lior. So listen up, pal. Here it comes.
My friend terminated, 50 years old, worked that place for 16 years. They're offering 8 months salary. The pension plan matching, benefit plan they are giving. It's an accounting clerk, payable, receivable, that kind of job. Is that a good deal?
There you go.
Very common question. People want to know, need to know if their severance offer is fair. We have a tool for that. I mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. All you have to do is go to PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca and click on the severance calculator. Let's do that right now for that scenario and see what we get. 50 years of age, accounting clerk, 16 years, only offered 8 months severance, but you see there she's owed 16 months severance, double that. Very common scenario, but now she knows. Now you can know as well. Check out PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca. Use the severance calculator to find out what the losses you should get for severance.
And that is a quick way to wrap up the show this week, Lior. Thank you so much for that. Reach out anytime. By the way, we're here with you Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. That phone call, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. And the website where you'll find that severance calculator, free and anonymous, PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca. And any other information you need, CP24.com/askalawyer. And we will see you again shortly. Thanks for watching.